Welcome to the class of 2021 virtual graduation celebration for the USC Suzanne Dworak-Peck School of Social Work.
Bienvenido a la celebración virtual de graduación de la promoción 2021 de la Escuela de Trabajo Social Suzanne Dworak-Peck de la USC.
USC Suzanne Dworak 학교 2021년 화상 졸업식에 오신 것을 진심으로 환영합니다.
Ugmang pag-atender sa virtual na selebrasyon kan grupo na mga graduar ngunya na taong 2021 kan USC Suzanne Dworak-Peck eskwelahan kan social work.
حضرات الضيوف والحضور الكرام، أهلا وسهلا بكم في حفلة التخرج لدفعة 2021 لكلية سوزان ديفورك-بيك للشغل الاجتماعي في جامعة USC.
Maligayang pagbati sa mga mag-aaral mula sa USC Suzanne Dworak-Peck paaralan ng gawaing panlipunan para sa kanilang virtual na pagtatapos sa taong kasalukuyan 2021.
The Suzanne Dworak-Peck School of Social Work at the University of Southern California acknowledges our presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tumva peoples. We recognize that these peoples were forcibly removed from their homelands. We take this opportunity to acknowledge the generations that have gone before, as well as the present-day Gabrielino Tumva people. With humility, we recognize and respect all Indigenous peoples, their histories and their ties to the land. We also recognize the Chumash, Tataviam, Serrano, Cahuilla, Juaneño, and Luiseño people for the land that USC occupies around Southern California. We pay respects to their past and present. Let this acknowledgement serve as an ongoing reminder of the original inhabitants where you reside.
I want to welcome you, graduates, families, and other significant persons, faculty and staff, to this day of celebration. While the format of today's event is different than in the past due to the pandemic, it's a time for our school to come together and acknowledge our MSW, MSN, DSW, and PhD graduates. I think that it's safe to say that you've achieved more than even our earlier graduates have by persevering under unprecedented difficult conditions. I applaud you and all of the loved ones who supported you through this. Class of 2021, your academic excellence, outstanding accomplishments in and outside the classroom, and unwavering commitment to helping individuals and communities thrive is truly remarkable. We come together to recognize you and the countless contributions you will make to society in the future. As social workers and nurses, you're bound together by your empathy and dedication to serve. You are instrumental in helping society become more resilient in times of crisis like this and the recovery that follows. In short, you matter. You can make a difference. You have crossed many hurdles and faced many challenges to arrive at this place today. Some posed by us in the classroom, some posed by external circumstances, and some posed by yourselves as you wondered if you could do it and began to use your new learning to evolve as a social worker or nurse. I calculated that together, our 2021 graduates completed 716,330 hours of field placement service around the country. You already have made a significant impact, and we look forward to the positive changes that you'll bring to communities around the nation and the world. And to our outstanding graduating class of doctoral students, thank you for advancing the field of social work through your innovative research and approach to practice. Your determination and fearlessness to question the status quo is helping our society get closer to addressing the greatest challenges of our time. From the social determinants that contribute to health and mental health disparities, to the complexity of inequality, social stigmas, homelessness, and addiction, your scholarship will make lives genuinely better. This celebration marks the next phase in your career as you assume new responsibilities as social workers, nurses, and scholars who will have the power to improve the lives of others with less power than we have. There have always been those with power and those without in the United States. This isn't new, but we've seen what it can be like to develop laws, policies, and practices that raise people's quality of life and rights. And although there's hope, we cannot be complacent. This is a time when we need our graduates to be out there working to restore and assure rights, to be working to develop and ensure policies and practice that allow everyone to live. For all in the country to have health care, especially during the pandemic, for all to be protected rather than harassed by law enforcement, for those who've committed and paid for crimes to have the opportunity to rebuild their lives, for those who've served their country in the military to obtain the services that they need and that they deserve. This is our charge. We at the school hope that through your instruction with us, we've better equipped you to do this. It's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Marlene Wong is an internationally recognized social worker and researcher, most notably for her groundbreaking work in the area of child traumatic stress. Professor Wong was instrumental in the development of the psychological first aid for schools intervention that's been used by teachers, staff, and students around the world for crisis and disaster recovery. She's a fellow of the American Academy of Social Work and Social Welfare and was inducted into the California Social Work Hall of Distinction in 2020. She holds a David Lawrence Stein Violet Goldberg Sachs Professorship in Mental Health at our school and has served as the Director of Field Education and Executive Director for the Telehealth Clinic. She's also a proud alumna of our school. Please join me in welcoming my distinguished colleague, Marlene Wong.
Greetings, MSW class of 2021. I salute and congratulate you on this, your very special day. I'm honored to be your commencement speaker because you embody social work and its future. Today, you are beloved by proud parents, spouses, children, family members, and friends. As they express their pride at your graduation, please thank them and express your gratitude and love for their support. We stand on and grow from the shoulders of excellent faculty, family, and friends. Let's acknowledge those important people in our lives. For me, that person was my grandmother, who was born on the island of Macau in 1900, and at the age of 5, was sold and trafficked as a child slave to a family of privilege and wealth in San Francisco. Despite her early traumatic years, when I think of a strong, intelligent, vibrantly alive, take no prisoners woman who taught me that I belong anywhere I want to be, I think of her. USC is a magical place to me. It's a major part of my childhood. From the time of my birth, my grandfather lived across the street from Fauché Learning Center on Exposition Boulevard. Every summer around graduation, my parents drove my sisters and I to Los Angeles to visit my grandfather. An enduring memory is seeing Felix the cat high above the car dealership on the corner of Jefferson. With growing excitement, we would drive past USC and turn right onto Exposition. On several occasions, we seemed to time it just right as the Trojan Band led students and their families across Exposition on the way to the Coliseum. I know and have known the Trojan fight song since I was in elementary school. Every time we turned that corner, my father would say, "That's the best school in the world. I wish I could send you there." It was a life-changing moment some 15 years later when I was accepted as a National Institute of Mental Health Fellow with a scholarship from NIMH in 1969. I was floating on air the first time I walked onto campus as a student. Fast forward to 2008, when I joined the School of Social Work as an academic dean, now senior vice dean. There are times when I still feel that magic as the campus holds so many fond memories for me. Today is your commencement, and it's a confirmation of your formal studies and the end of your internships. It's certainly a high point. I also want to recognize that it may not have been an easy path. You're here today as survivors as well. Some of you have encountered obstacles, been bruised by financial, academic, personal, and/or family problems. Acquiring your MSW may have been like climbing a hill or climbing a mountain. Along the way, you may have had doubts that you could finish or questioned whether you could reach the summit. Take this moment to catch your breath and appreciate the journey. You did it. However, be forewarned, it's just the beginning. You face a future, perhaps in a more challenging context than in any other in the past 100 years. In a meta-analysis of hundreds of disasters, both natural and man-made, several researchers have identified ways that communities have changed in the aftermath, and not for the better. I want to highlight 3 studies published since 2008, 8 years before the onset of COVID-19, that are germane to the issues that social workers will have to address. The words are stunning in their relevance. The authors wrote, after the disasters we face, disrupted social, governmental, and communication infrastructures, depleted or destroyed households and businesses due to economic downturn, long-term threats to physical and mental health and safety, increased community conflicts, increased levels of personal stress, compassion fatigue, and occupational burnout. For schools and healthcare, they'll be challenged to develop new models and approaches to fulfilling their mission as the first institutions that resume operations. As a 50-year Trojan today, and social work kapuna, which means in Hawaii, elder, I feel compelled to offer just a few bits of advice and things I've learned that have been helpful to me since I graduated in 1971. Here's some advice from resilience literature. You need mentors and champions, people to watch your back, to support you when you might not know exactly what to do. In my first job at St. John's Hospital in the adult outpatient clinic, I discovered that people saw me from the lens of their expectations and not from the perspective of my education and training. I had been hired as a clinical social worker and outpatient psychotherapist. A meeting was convened to overhaul all medical record keeping, which required over 100 doctors, nurses, physical and occupational therapists, as well as the attendance of all staff from both sides of the medical and psychiatric services of the hospital. After the presentation by the corporation, all of us were asked to stand and ask our questions. So several doctors and other staff got up to speak. And finally, I gathered the courage to ask my question, to raise my hand. I wasn't sure, but I just needed to know more about how patient charting was going to change. So as I posed my question, the man in the corporate suit looked at me and said, "You can sit down, miss. You and the other secretaries have nothing to do with this training." I was scared. I was young. I was green. I felt humiliated. I really didn't know how to respond. But I will never forget how grateful I was when Sister Jean Stewart, who got up and said, "She is not a secretary. She's one of our therapists, and her question is important to all of us." Secondly, be a lifelong learner. A challenge I faced as a school social worker in LA Unified School District was one of the first school shootings in the US It happened at the 49th Street Elementary School in 1984. A mentally ill man who lived across the street from the school in his second floor apartment opened fire with a cache of weapons. And as children were leaving their classes at the end of that February afternoon, they had to run, scrambling for their safety. There was no safe school plan in 1984. Ultimately, the school, under sniper fire, lost 2 children, and several faculty and staff were shot and seriously wounded. In 1984, the mental health and psychiatric community was in conflict about whether or not children could get PTSD. Everything known about post-traumatic stress disorder then was learned from war, and at that time in history, from the Vietnam War. There was little or no research done on children as victims or witnesses of violence, and no targeted interventions for child trauma. All of us school social workers in the school mental health department were learning by trial and error and supporting each other in that learning. Next, expect the unexpected. Be prepared to be the first social worker of color, or perhaps the first social worker ever encountered in any given context. In Oklahoma City, I was conducting trainings on behalf of the U.S. Departments of Education and Justice, speaking with hundreds and hundreds of people from schools, as well as people in the community, after the bombing of the Murrah Federal Building. I noticed that one other older gentleman in the audience was staring at me throughout. I got worried as I continued to speak, and he continued to stare. Did I have food in my hair? Was I unbuttoned or unzipped? Did I say something odd to him or wrong? After I ended my presentation, he ambled up to me and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but are you a Chinese woman?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And then he said, "Well, then let me shake your hand, because I never done met me no Chinese woman." I also learned over time and in many locations across the country that empathy has no color. That if you convey your commitment to service, your wish to listen, protect, and connect with the people you are with, they will want you with them on the path to recovery. Lastly, please recognize that social work is needed and relevant to everyone, to every person. In my work over a 3-year period at Columbine High School, I found that the tragedy of violence and mass murder and the need for healing health and mental health practitioners cut across social strata, race, economics, and other demographics. Social work practices, knowledge, and skills can add important perspectives in every human interaction, organization, and population, not just the traditionally underserved. After the tragedy of Columbine, up to 20 students died or were killed or completed suicide in the 12 months following that tragedy. Violence exposure is truly a social determinant of health, and social workers are best equipped to address it. So as an example, let's think about this quote: "Trauma is rampant in our society." Do you think it's from a social worker? Surprisingly, it's not. That's a quote from a September 2020 article in the Harvard Business Review. The multiple stressors, loss, and grief experienced by many people during the pandemic have come at the cost of their mental health and well-being. Business writers and consultants are calling for employers to help their employees understand the effect of these stressors on their work and on their lives. In the last year, acts of mass violence and mayhem in the US may have begun as a societal phenomenon so many years ago in schools, but it's swept across the country in workplaces, private companies, and into the highest offices of government, such as the insurrection in the Capitol building. As I leave USC in June, it's on my bucket list to continue to be in the game, to work and continue my partnerships with Rand Health, with our research, intervention development, and contributions to policy and program, to trauma recovery in children, to a hope for peace and the end to violence. It's on my bucket list to continue to support you as colleagues and alumni of our school. I also have another list which President Obama, as he contemplated leaving office, talked about a bit at the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner. He said he didn't have that many things on his bucket list, but he did have a list that started with an F and rhymed with bucket. In the interest of civility, I think I'll rename it as the Big Bad Bucket List. Right now, I want you to join me in thinking about what we should put onto that list. What do we need to get rid of, to eradicate? Would you agree that we should add to the Big Bad Bucket hatred against our brothers and sisters of all races, of all colors, and of all religions? Would you join me in adding to the bad bucket list hate against LGBTQ colleagues, friends, and family members? And what if we add violence against women, abuse of children, neglect of elders, and political abandonment of vulnerable populations, including immigrants? And for heaven's sake, can we stop separating them from their children? Can we add to the bad bucket list ignorance about who social workers are and what they do? They comprise up to 70% of all licensed clinicians who provide psychotherapy in many communities across this country. Can we eliminate ignorance about school social workers who provide up to 85% of all mental health services to children in schools? The need for social workers is growing, and the need for us to educate others is growing as well. So I can't wait to hear about your work in the future. I know that you will be writers of programs and policies, that you'll be administrators of health and human services. You'll be clinicians and artists, because there's an art and a creativity to working with human beings, mind, body, and soul. Yesterday, you were students. Today, you are my colleagues. Let's stay together as a school and join together in our resolve to keep to the higher road, always taken by the social workers from the Suzanne Dworak-Peck School of Social Work. You are SC, the new community leaders guided by the true north of the NASW Code of Ethics. You are SC, the new practitioners implementing healing interventions that are rooted in science. You are SC, unfailing advocates of social justice and guardians of equal protection under the law. The spotlight is on you today. Make us proud. Congratulations and best wishes for your happiness and continued success. Fight on, class of 2021. Fight on.
You will be changing the trajectory of the lives of families and children and adults and societies and community. Great job, and see you on the other side.
As the field director, I've heard about all the wonderful contributions that you have made in your communities as interns. I am now excited to hear about how much more you will do as alumni. Fight on.
Congratulations. What you've done is extraordinary. I hope you and your family and friends celebrate big. And remember to fight on.
Congrats, class of 2021. Fight on and make sure you put it on your resume.
A special shout out to Unchained Scholars, whose fierce, bold, and brave advocacy will impact USC for generations to come. Fight on.
It's been my honor to be a part of your educational journey. Wishing you all the best and continued success. Fight on.
You are the most resilient and flexible group of students I have ever met. You are warriors, and I am so excited for your journey ahead.
Congratulations, graduates. You've worked really hard. Now go out and celebrate your accomplishments, and don't forget to fight on.
I know that you've all been through a great deal and shown strength, courage, resiliency, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Best of luck to each of you in your careers as a social worker. Continue to inspire, empower, and advocate. You are the noble profession, and welcome to our field. Best wishes.
You should be so proud of yourselves. Now it's time, you're ready. Go out there and make a difference in our world.
What a year it's been, and what a time to graduate. Our communities need you so much. Keep up the great work and fight on.
Congratulations. You did it. Fight on.
Congratulations, good and noble colleagues and graduates.
We are proud of your growth over the last year, enduring the challenges, letting go when necessary, and exemplifying community care.
It's been a real honor being part of your journey.
Never stop supporting each other. Best wishes on your next adventure, because I know for my students, this is just the beginning. And fight on!
Fight on! You've accomplished and overcome so much. I want to wish you the very best and welcome you as social work colleagues.
It's been quite a year, quite a journey, but you did it. And now you are professional social workers. So again, congratulations.
Here's to the class of 2021. You are off to great places and careers. Fight on.
There is no group like you. You have worked hard, you graduated during a global pandemic, and you are going to be the most amazing social workers.
Congratulations, you have worked so hard this year. We are so proud of you. Fight on.
You are amazing, you are strong, and you are graduates of the USC Suzanne Dworak-Peck School of Social Work.
You have clients who are out there waiting for you because they need your support. Best of luck to you, and go forth and make change.
We celebrate your spirit, your genius, your resilience. It's now time for you to go off into the world and share your gifts. Fight on together.
So we celebrate your achievements today. We welcome you into the community of faculty, students, staff, and alumni from around the country and the world. We're immensely proud of you, and we know we will witness your accomplishments over the next years as they accrue. Enjoy this day, and please remember your professors, staff members, and schools as you go out into the world to do more good work. On behalf of everyone at the Suzanne Dworak-Peck School of Social Work, we wish you all the best. Congratulations, class of 2021, and fight on.
I am here to congratulate our family nurse practitioner graduates on their great success. Congratulations to you and your family. We look forward to hearing about your successes in the future.
PhD and DSW graduates, congratulations from the school, from the doctoral programs, and from all the faculty. And it is truly a privilege to see your Trojan energy and spirit having impact in communities far and wide.
You earned your MSW degrees under extraordinary circumstances in our country and in our world. You persevered and you demonstrated great resilience. Hold fast to that initial passion that brought you into social work.